Okay. Looks like we are recording and we are rolling. Okay. So, thoughts, questions, feedback. How's everybody feeling right now?
Pregnant. Baby time.
Thumbs up.
Any day.
Awesome. Well, cool. Yeah, so the topic that Natalie mentioned that I wanted to hit on today is the topic of attachment. So we hear a lot about goals in network marketing, right? One of the first things we do is we set a goal, we set our intention, we start every meeting by declaring our intention, we endlessly make vision boards, we update our vision boards, we co-create with God, we do all these things about goal. But at the end of the day, one of the most powerful principles that Natalie and I have learned is how to create powerfully without being attached to the outcome. So if you guys are okay, I'm just going to mute everybody else out, and you can unmute yourself if you need to. So what do we mean by intention without attachment? Basically, we have to go through life with purpose, with goals. You have to know where you're going, just like the story of the Cheshire Cat, right? Which road should I go down? I don't care. Well, in that case, it doesn't matter which road you take. So we have to know where we want to go and what we want to create. But it's also just as important for us to not be, how does my coach say it? Married to the outcome. In other words, it might show up 100 different ways. So let's say my goal is presidential diamond. And right now I have 6 legs that I'm working with. If I am attached to the outcome of presidential, then a lot of times that looks like forcing. A lot of times that looks like pushing people harder and faster than they want to go. A lot of times that looks like either buying in or just creating, excuse me, just a lot of out of balance relationships by sticking with the 6 legs that we currently have, because we think that's my goal, this is who I have, this is how I'm moving forward. But what I want to present to you today is this idea of non-attachment. And anyone who's studied Eastern philosophy is very familiar with this idea of non-attachment. It's kind of the whole differentiating factor between the East and the West. They live their lives unattached, and we in the West, we're very good at becoming attached. So how might that look if you're pushing for presidential, you have a goal, you have a date, but you're not attached? One way that could look is I might launch a backup team that I might use as a qualifying leg. If I see that one of my qualifying legs is maybe having a major life event, maybe they're having breakdown, maybe for whatever reason things just aren't lining up, I have a plan B, and I'm able to work with someone else and still work towards my goal without being attached to who I'm working with. One thing that I see too often is people are so committed to their goals that sometimes they let those goals eclipse their relationships. And if we're in a relationship business and we're sacrificing relationships, then something's not right. Something's broken. So I want to invite you to think about where you are currently today with your goals, and in what ways are you maybe showing an unhealthy attachment to how that goal shows up in your life. You know, sometimes we look at maybe the goal was presidential, but what I really wanted was $30,000 a month in income. Or sorry, if it's presidential, it's probably more like, 40, 50, 60. So maybe we look at what was the intention of the goal, and what are other ways that I can create that. I have to tell you that Natalie and I think we're pretty good at strategy, but when it comes to maximizing the comp plan, I mean, we make great money. And so we've never really paid too much attention to like extra shares. So this last month, we finally took the time and took a look at extra shares, and we were able to not only get an extra Premier, but we were also able to get an extra Silver, personally enrolled Premier and personally enrolled Silver, to qualify for an extra share of the Presidential and an extra share of the Diamond. And that's just one simple example of how we can create the life we want. We can create powerfully with God, but without being attached. So let's open it up for questions so far. What are your thoughts about this idea of intention without attachment? Go ahead and unmute yourself, and let's make this conversation.
Hey, this is Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
My question is, how do you balance that? Like, if your intention is something and you have maybe a leader who's not showing up or having a breakdown or a life event, how do you manage your time without them feeling like you're kind of leaving them to put your energy where the energy is?
That's a great question. And obviously, when we're dealing with people, the answer is always, it depends, right? So, and every person, you know, the way that you communicate to them, that you care about them, that you're committed to them, and their life goals, whatever, it's going to vary. So we have some of our frontline leaders that if we're not connecting with them and spending recreational time with them on a regular basis, they don't feel loved. They don't feel cared for. We have other builders that their love language is gifts. And so if we are making deposits in their account by, you know, doing thoughtful and meaningful gifts, that goes a long ways with them. So you just have to take a look at that person's personality, and kind of, you know, for clues, you can look at the way they give that message to others, and then say, you know, how can I show up for you that way? And then doing some checking in. So I'm trying to think of an example. So we have a builder that was very active for about a year, and then they had a change of they felt called to do something else besides doTERRA, and so we just had regular checkups. You know, they'd come over to the house, bring their kids, we'd talk for an hour or two, and we would, you know, show interest in them and their life and what they're up to. But we made it really clear that whether they're building a doTERRA business with us or not, we're there for them. And we love them and care about them as people and want to help them succeed in whatever they're creating. So, you know, as a network marketer, we get to be people. We get to figure out what makes people tick and make sure that we're speaking in their love language. So is that helpful? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think that would be sorry, that would be helpful. I think the thought that came after you were sharing that it totally makes sense. How do you, when you do have like a new leader who's coming on and this other one who's kind of, maybe they're checked out, but they're more of they have blocks and they're working through them, they're feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, whatever, the normal stuff. And you have these new leaders who are coming on and they're kind of overlapping, and one's feeling bad because the other one's being successful. I know that's their problem, but you see that all the time, and trying to manage those emotions among your leaders. I feel like I'm the worst at that. I want to celebrate everybody's successes and not.
Yeah. That's tricky business. We've got some builders like that too, who are super competitive, and they're always asking, how's so and so doing? What's their volume? What's their rank? And I think it's the same thing, the same principle. The relationship comes first, and we get to learn how to convey to them that that we are fully present to them, and we completely value them, regardless of their performance. That their performance cannot change their worth to us, and that's tricky. This business, there are lots of hoops, lots of labels, lots of levels. We measure everything from power of three to rank to volume to, it's hard to get past that. But man, when you succeed at making everyone feel valued, there's no limit to what you can create. And what's even one step beyond that is to acknowledge and honor them where they are, while at the same time pushing them to the next level. That's one of the things that Emily Wright does really well. I swear she knows more people's names than anyone I've ever met. And she acts like she knows every diamond story like they've been best friends forever. It just blows my mind. But at the same time, she's done a great job at inspiring people to the next level. Just kind of, if someone is a little more competitive, she might say, so what's your next goal, and when are we going to be there? I've even seen her, in a playful spirit, kind of say, where are you with your competition? Like if someone is cross-line from another diamond, she might say, who's going to get to blue first? And just little things like that. So there's definitely a fine art of honoring and respecting and loving, while still saying, hey, I know you're a competitive person. Let's use that to our advantage. So I know that's a whole lot of just kind of, it depends, wishy-washy, gray area, but that's what I've found. Any other questions about that or thoughts there?
I just have a comment. I've been studying, of course, the Bible always, but I noticed Jesus never chased anybody. He just, and I had a talk with Mickey one day, and she said, Kyla, give your leaders wings. Anytime I feel frustrated or I feel things are complicated, that's when I know that I need to take a step back, because this isn't complicated. Even when we're dealing with people, if we just remember to love and give and keep our hearts pure in the process, things will work out. And so what I've kind of been feeling this week, if things get heavy or I start thinking about something too hard, just to simplify and get back to the basics, to enroll those classes, love people. That's not very profound, but it's been helping me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great way to see it. And, building a doTERRA team really is a lot like building a family. You've got children that you're raising and training, and you're the more you can do to make them feel valued and loved and like they play a key role, and they're a part of the team, you're going to go far. So anybody else want to chime in on that? It's a great question.
I had a coaching call this week or last week, I forget. And she said one of the things that really helped her when she first started, sorry, my toddler, I might have to mute myself.
You're great.
She said she signed under this big person, and the big person said, hey, I noticed you're a life coach, and so I would like you to do the coaching. And he just immediately, trusted her and gave her a role. And she said that was one of the most empowering things. I think one thing that I've done, especially in the beginning, was just assume that they can't do it and I've got to do it. But then when you turn it over, sometimes that can be hard. But if you do it from the get-go and just empower them and believe that they're strong and trust your team. And so that's been huge for me lately too.
Yeah, that's a powerful principle. Just seeing opportunities to pass things off, to let people step up and step into leadership. That's huge. And we've had some previous calls about that too, about passing the baton and building a stage for our team. That's a huge part. Awesome. What other questions, thoughts? What's been your experience in creating with intention but without attachment?
Hi, guys. I'm going to speak up for a minute.
Please.
So we have everything lined up for Blue Diamond. It's just a matter of timing and volume before we hit that. We also have a 6th leg for presidential. And this young gentleman came to us about 2 months ago and said, his commitment and his hustle and his background. And I said, and he requested to be on our front line. So Keith and I really considered all of our options and said, okay, well, we'll keep him on our front line and see how it evolves. And unfortunately, the last few weeks, he has he's been very lax in his hustle. And so although he's on our front line and although he's working with us, still not the hustle that Keith and I would put into our team.
Sure.
We have to allow him to have his course and him to learn his lessons. And he's still on our front line and he could very possibly still take us to presidential. However, we still have intentions out there of, attracting that presidential leg if by chance he's not it, right? So, just knowing that our goal is this, but it may look completely different, with what you said earlier, just aligns perfectly, with that non-attachment. Kind of like, awesome, we're so excited, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So that's been our experience the past month. So yeah.
And that's tricky, isn't it? Because a lot of times we have so much invested in our goals and our rank and our plans. Like this was my plan. Like, why is this not panning out?
Right.
So it's a real life lesson to just release and just say, it'll all happen on the perfect timeline and with the perfect people. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we experienced that too, going diamond. We could have gone diamond one of, I think, 5 or 6 different ways. And it was just being open to, okay, it's not looking how we thought it was going to look. So let's just allow it to take its course and we'll work with those that step forward. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think the thing that jumps out at me is one of the things from Share Success is that our role is to act as a guide.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I have what I want or we have what we want, but we really work very hard with our leaders about finding out what they want and just helping them along that journey. And then if it aligns with us, awesome. And if not, then we continue to help them and we continue to look for someone that does align with what we want. So, like if this 6th leg doesn't in, a certain amount of time get into alignment, then we go find that other leg, another person that does, while maintaining, that sort of stewardship of whatever we can do to help him.
Right.
So I think that's kind of the way that phrase, that act as a guide, has been super important for us to help them. And we share that with them. Like, my job here is to help you.
Yep.
So you tell me what you want, and then we'll create a plan. We'll strategize what that looks like for you.
Yeah.
And as long as you keep showing up, I'm here. And so, yeah, it is tricky though, because we have, our whiteboard with our goals and our dates, and we're like, okay, that date's gonna move down. It gets a little tricky.
It is tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a great test to see if we're going to use force or power.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still working on that book.
That's a great book, isn't it?
It's heavy. It's a lot of information.
Yeah, not a light read, for sure.
No, it is not.
That's awesome. Well, that's a great example. And this business, it's the perfect test to see if you're going to sacrifice relationships and or if you're going to deprive people of leadership. If you're enrolling 75 people a month and you're just placing them just based on your needs for rank, it's just a matter of time before you hit the next rank, right? But if on the other hand your first priority is developing true leaders, then that's a whole different play. And that requires patience and an ability to be non-attached, and just be in flow and in faith and just trust the process. Cool. Any other thoughts or questions?
Whenever I'm teaching, I teach on the belief system, and I actually teach it kind of like a GPS system. And so your ultimate goal is like presidential diamond, and that would be your ultimate goal. But whenever you're thinking about that, there's other ways of getting there. Like sometimes it might be that you're thinking of this leader would be getting there, but you have to let go of the house. It's because once you set your GPS and you have that set, you have to drive, but there might be aversions or there might be detours along the way. So you can't just sit there and wait at that stop and say, no, this is my only way of getting there.
Yeah.
And I have to work with this person, or I have to only go do this area. You actually need to be able to change it to do what you need to do, and kind of look at it and say, okay, this is where my goal is, but there's different ways of getting to the same place. And so you don't be really upset if the goal changes as you go, but that you still have that in mind of where you're heading towards, because you still have to make the detour sometimes.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I like to think of the belief level sometimes as a summit. It's a mountain, and there's 1,000 ways to get to the summit, and there's no right or wrong way. But it's all about non-attachment.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Any other comments or questions? I love the contributions, the examples you guys have shared. If not, then I think we'll keep this one short and sweet. Unless anybody has any strategic questions or specific topics you want to bring up. Anybody have anything?
Hey, Andy, it's Stacy again. Another question.
Sure.
So going along with that non-attachment, what we've done, and I don't know if this is smart, but it felt right, so I don't know, I guess it's right. So we are still kind of rebuilding for Blue Diamond. Some leaders kind of checked out, but I've enrolled 4 other just amazing people and felt like they needed to go on my front line in that sense of, they could be one of those goals. They could be one of those platinums. They could be the M1 account, that I'm okay with that. And my intention in building doTERRA is like helping to build women and leaders. And these people I want to work with directly. What I'm finding though is the difficulty is just managing the time with having, new leaders and questions and mentoring, and still having others who are working through stuff, and trying to feel like, when do you take yourself kind of out of those other leaders' lives and like, you fly? Like, how did you do that?
Oh boy. That's been a process. I I mean, as I scan over the team in my mind, they've each had their own process, and it really has been, I mean, so personal. I have to say that the only guiding principle that I know is our role is to support and to just to delegate as soon as possible. You know, if you're teaching 4 and 5 classes for them, then it's probably too much. If you're doing their business trainings for them, you know, more than 3 or 4 times, it's probably too much. Like, it's in every case, the sooner we either pass the baton to them and said, hey, it's you now, or in a lot of cases they just grabbed the baton and said, like we don't need you. The better things went. And you know, it's not like this happened over a 1 or 2 week period. In every case, it was, you know, it was months and sometimes years. So that's one question. You know, how do you raise these leaders so that they truly take it on, and they're not just either relying on you too much or just dropping the ball. So that's the only guiding principle there. The other question you asked was, you know, how do you find balance? How do you raise these new leaders while you still have a strong existing team that you're trying to support? And you know, just like with a real family, I found that it's beautiful the way the older kids can help raise the younger kids. When you can get your young leaders attending the older leaders' events and even doing some cross-line mentoring, that is a beautiful thing. Natalie and I used to be really just take it personally when our qualifying legs would seek mentoring elsewhere, until finally we realized, wait a minute, somebody else is creating leverage for us. Somebody else is taking the time and the energy to coach and mentor and work with our leaders. We should be singing hallelujah, like this is the dream, right? Like, we don't have to do it all ourselves. And the same thing I've had to even come to terms with when it comes to systems. You know, when people would choose other systems, I used to take it personally. And then I realized, wait a minute, somebody else is helping me build my business. And I just finally released and said, you know what? I need to not be attached. It shouldn't have to look a certain way. I don't have to do every coaching and mentoring call. I don't have to build every possible, you know, video and tool and website. Like, it's okay to not be the center of the universe. And that has been one of the greatest tests of non-attachment that Natalie and I have ever had. Just being totally open and willing to not be that guy, not be the center. So, you know, look for ways that you can develop your existing leaders by having them host or coach or mentor some of your new leaders. That's I think one of the keys of great parenting too, is being able to delegate and pass that on so that you're not having to do it all. Anything you want to add there?
I agree.
I want to say amen to that, and then just kind of throw out an idea of what we're doing that goes along with that. And now in my mind kind of shifts, like, oh, this is how it's going to really help beyond what I was thinking. So we love your launch, the launch guide, the premiere guide, waiting for the silver, and we love training by rank. And we have a team call, and it's hard training. Just 1 second, sweetie. We have a hard time training because you have brand new people on that call, and then you have people who are shooting for higher ranks and like what's appropriate. And so we decided we're just going to do train by rank. So there's going to be a weekly call that's for those who are launching to elite, those who are premier, and then another one that's like silver, going silver and above. But having our leaders take over those different calls during the week. So my new people can jump on to the elite training, and they're getting support from other leaders, and those leaders who are doing the calls are developing their leadership skills. Like you're just saying, you're not the center of the universe, and trusting, like, I know what they're doing and get out of the way. So
That's great.
I see that as super valuable. And the question is, when is the silver one coming out? What's the whole thing with that? So you can just give us a heads up.
Great question. So we have some of the old silver guides on hand if people want to use those.
And they're great,
There's nothing wrong with them.
right?
The only
There was
thing,
probably like 40 left, that we have here.
and the only thing that's shifting is just a tighter integration of the launch into the silver guide. So it's just kind of a little bit of reverse engineering,
Right.
but
So
it's very minor.
what we're doing right now is, we meet weekly, and then we just knock out, this month is the month to create silver, and actually be seeing how that duplicates for platinum and diamond, which we'll be working on next month. So silver should be crafted and beta version. If you want to get a beta version and start using that in your teams and give us feedback on it, we could print that out, as early as maybe like May 15th. So basically, it's our intention to have so launch is the key, it's the core, everything's based on that. Premier, now that we've had the beta out for a little bit, we've gotten more feedback on that, and that's ready to print a final version here. And then we go silver, gold, Convention will release all of the guides in the lead guide. So launch, premier, silver would all be, nice little separate guides. And we've talked about having the launch guide that we have at convention just, kind of the lead guide that we have at convention, just a lead intro packet at the very beginning. And then it just starts out, then it just has launch, premier, silver, gold, platinum, diamond.
Standalone.
Just as little packets that come behind that, right? And it's shrink wrapped all together. So that's our dream right now we got a plan to make it happen. What are your thoughts on that?
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So we have the old one. I think people in the old lead guide are using the silver one. They just keep asking me, so when's the silver coming out? We love the launch. We love Premiere Beta. So just wanted to know. Okay, good.
So as soon as we have the silver, I'll reach out to you, Stacy. Maybe we can get some betas in your hands, and anybody else that wants to be testing betas, raise your hand.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, well, if you guys are game, we actually have a guest who's going to be sharing a little bit of their story. So these are some of our dear, dear friends that we've known almost from the beginning. John and Callie Wilson just went Presidential Diamond last month. So we've invited them to just hop on and just share a couple of quick tips. They're not on our team, but we like to say that we've adopted them because they just feel like family to us. How many of you know John and Callie Wilson? Okay. Yeah, Callie's been the face of quite a few videos. She's an amazing presenter, but they're both just amazing souls. We love the way they do life. every day is a new creation, and they're so inspiring. John's background is actually in piano tuning. So he had a piano business for a long time. And and then Callie, she's been in health for a long time. She's also been voice and acting talent. So are they ready?
She's not picking up right now. So
well, it's possible that we may be doing that next week.
No, she texted, she was ready, and now she's not picking up her phone. So what other questions do you have while we have a minute for her to come? Hey, you know what? Have we told this group about the experienced doTERRA or anything else?
Maybe not.
Okay, so this is one thing. We have this new builder on our M1 that is opening up our minds to different things. In the beginning we talked about doing fly-ins, right? We looked at New Skin's model and some other models of fly-ins, and so this leader, he was more traditional network marketing, and he's basically just paid a few $100 to fly in people. We take them on a tour of corporate, introduce them to an executive, get 30 minutes with an executive sitting down, getting their scenario, and then they get like a massage at the doTERRA spa. They go over to Oil Life and see what's happening there. Some exposure to the company, and every person that he's brought in just loves it, signs up, is all in, and then they take the launch. So most of those people he's bringing in on a launch weekend. We're doing a launch training for a few hours, and then those people are launching. So Elite in 1 month, Premier in Premier the next month, and it's going from there. So we we've just really loved that, how it doesn't take that much energy, but we can create almost the feel of convention any time of the year to get people going and even break through any blocks that they might have. So we talked about, on maybe a couple Diamond calls ago, we talked about having an experienced doTERRA weekend for prospects and having a future leaders weekend, maybe for those leaders that are amazing, that just haven't clicked in yet, right? Maybe you've enrolled them, maybe they have a vision, but they haven't started yet. How can you get them to move? They could be incredible influencers. They could just be people that are in this, orbit that they need to get out of and break free from. So we have one set up for May. We were kind of separating them, but now we're thinking, hey, let's do them the same weekend and do them at different cabins, right? So we can have all the people that are already signed up in doTERRA at one cabin, and all the people that are new prospects at one cabin, but give them both experiences. And we have a offsite management group that's managing the whole process. So we only got the word out a little bit for this current one. So we have 5 prospects coming in and 3 leaders that are coming in to accompany those prospects, and that's Thursday and Friday of this week. And so we're experimenting with this first one, but we've done it a few times with this new builder, and it's super useful. Then in May, I think it's May 12th through the 14th, we'll be doing it again, and that's it's set up on the Share Success Events page. You can RSVP there. We're basically just hiring this offsite guy so that we can have it all managed, and then it's costing $500 to $700 a person So you fly them in, or they drive in, kind of thing, however you figure out the travel. And then this offsite guy kind of takes care of it, and we're facilitating this process. So let's say that Mickey wants to send a new prospect, or Stacy's sending a new prospect, but you can't fly out at the same time or something like that. Then you might, Mickey might be inviting Carol Ann to be that mentor that shows up for part of the time. And Stacy might be inviting James and Chelsea or Elise to be that mentor to that person. And then where you can't find, where that doesn't work out, then we might be able to pick up a person or whatever to facilitate. But the goal is that they're converted to doTERRA in that weekend, and they have a business plan to move forward. And it's been really fun to see. And so we wanted to open that up. And, one of our big blocks is, man, can we take care of anyone else? Can we do this? Can we do more? And in doing things like this and just converting people and then having the launch to plug them into and empower them, it's been so good for us to just okay, energetically we can take the brakes off, because we know there are some ways that we can convert them. Then we don't have to spend a year converting people, and we can take those people to the next level through an experience like this, and then we can really move because they've got the launch to work from. So
question with that, you say it costs about $500 to $700. So that's if we bring them in to join with the person you have facilitating. So there's a place that they stay.
Right. So it would be like a cabin up at Sundance, and it would be Thursday and Friday nights, and it would include their meals and include the spa experience, actually, so this time we're kind of doing a version of it where we're going to do the spa experience at doTERRA. But, in our normal write-up, it's okay, this first night we talk about the power of network marketing. We have a fun dinner. It's catered dinner at the cabin whenever we're there, except the time that we come down to doTERRA and then eat in the doTERRA eatery. But that first night we have them, people coming up to give aroma touches. So they're experiencing an aroma touch technique before they go to bed that first night, some experiences like that. And then one activity, like either horseback riding at Sundance, or zip lining, or something like that. So that's where the cost comes in.
So if we wanted someone to do that, who do we reach out to?
So if you want one for the May dates, then just register at sharesuccess.com/events. If you want one for this weekend, text me.
Okay.
I favored. Can we pick it up?
Okay. Well, looks like we've got Callie on the line now. So, as I said, these are some of our dearest friends and rock stars in doTERRA who just hit Presidential Diamond. So, Callie, go ahead and give us some of your top tips.
How did you do this? Is what they're wondering.
What do you want my thoughts and tips on? Going presidential?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, my thought is, a couple of things. I think one of the things is you kind of have to decide, and you got to be all in. There can be no option of being out, right? Of giving yourself an out. And so I think just making sure that your team is ready for it, that you've called everyone on your front line and your second level, and you've got the people in place on your third level, that they all know what you're doing, that you've got some type of plan, right? And I think the biggest thing thing is just making sure that you have daily calls with the key people in the organization. And that's something that I did with my weaker legs. I made sure that their frontline leader, second line leader, any other builder in that leg was on a daily call with me with daily goals. And I'd always have them report successes and then ask them, okay, what's the OB goal for today and how are we going to do that? And then just again, having that daily accountability was huge. And then again, just making sure that the energy was right and that rather than focusing on problems or things that fall through, because inevitably they do, staying in the energy of saying, well, this is happening. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to show up for us. And I can see going platinum. So what do we need to do to make that happen today? And then just bite-sized chunks every single day, working on, getting that number down. So anyway, I don't know if that was helpful, but that was kind of my strategy. And one of the things that I did too that was really fun to be all in was we have a Facebook team page, and so we announced it on our Facebook group, and then I did daily videos for my team on the reality of what it takes to go this rink and the ups and downs. Like, just because I'm presidential Brandon doesn't mean that I don't have difficulties. Like, I went and got a class and one person showed up and they didn't even really, you see the ups and downs, but you just, you keep going and you keep staying in the solution mode. Does that help a little bit?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love your clarity and the way you engaged your team into all of that, right? It was more of a team creation. Can I ask you a few questions just about how did you know when the time was right, Callie? I mean, you and I both know you could have done it before then. You could have, created it before then. How did you know when the time was right?
I think that I try to do things intuitively. I really do. And I just felt that prior, I could have, in a sense, drove myself and gone absolutely crazy and bonkers and been out on the trenches. But after I hit Blue, I actually hit the financial goal that I started with. Before I started doTERRA, I wrote my next chapter of my life, and I wrote the financial goal that I would achieve and the people that I would surround myself and the influence that we were going to have on the world. Mm-hmm. And it was really a cool experience. And this is when I first started my doTERRA journey. Part of it was because why I did that was because I had a relative that did MLM and ruined every family relationship and didn't even speak to his family for decades, didn't even come to his first funeral. And so going into doing network marketing was kind of scary for me because I had seen a model and my parents had seen a model. They were very worried about my soul. And so I sat down and said, well, I feel driven to do doTERRA, but I'm definitely not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it this way, where I'm going to become actually an incredible, better person because of it. And so are the people that I get to associate with and influence. And so so when I hit Blue, everything in that paper that I written, that I was reading every single day, came true. From the financial goal to the influence to everything. And so I think for me, there was a season when I just needed to stabilize and take care of my family and discover some other things that I also wanted to do in my life. And then, time kind of went on, and I just kind of felt intuitively that it was time and that my team also needed to watch me do it. And the cool thing was, it's because of social media and because I was showing them, like, oh my gosh, you guys, I just did a webinar and it totally flopped. My child came in during the middle of this live webinar and told me he was poopy like 18 times during the close. Like, it was terrible. The parents was dying. I'm like, he's supposed to be taking a nap. Like, oh my gosh. But,
wow.
I would say, like, that's, but today was a great day. I had this happen, and every day I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to make 20 calls, and I'm kind of freaking out. Like, I'm dealing with some negative thoughts. Like, people are going to be annoyed that I'm calling them. So I'm going to, like, clear this out and create some new declarations. So I'm showing this to them every day. But I think because intuitively I try to be an intuitive leader, showing them that all of a sudden gave a lot of people that have been hanging out, sitting courage to do it. And so after I went presidential, I did a video the night that we were going presidential, and we were still like 6,000 short. And it was 4 o'clock in the day, and I said, well, not really sure how this is going to show up, but I'm gonna be in my office until it's done. And my husband and I are locking ourselves in here, and we're going to just keep doing this till we're done. Anyway, I didn't know, but there was a woman on my team in Switzerland who has been wanting to go gold for a very long time and has been sitting at silver forever. And she watched that video, and she went, wait a second, that's how you do it? That's how you go, like, rank? You just make a commitment and you don't leave your room till it's done? She hit gold that night because she goes, Kelly, after I watched that video, I looked at my structure. I was 2,000 away from gold. I have been for a long time. I was teaching a class that night, and I told my husband, wait, let's just not go to bed till it's done. And she did it. And so I think, it wasn't presidential just for John and I by any means. It was definitely like, I felt like I felt this liberation for my team too, that if they could see us doing big things, they could do big things. They're just like us. So that was really cool. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Wow. That is such a great example, and just a picture to paint for each of us of, like, there's no back door. There's no excuse. There's no backing down. I'm just locking myself in a room until I get this done.
But it does have to be in alignment, because I feel like you can push it. You know what I mean? You can push it, and it can be crazy. And if you push too hard and you push your team too hard, then there's the cost.
Yep.
And sometimes you gotta, like, it's not good. So I do feel like, you have to do it smart. You have to do it right. And I will say this about Andy and Natalie. What inspired me partially to do those videos for my team to make it deep was because I became friends with Andy and Natalie. And we're not even on the same team, but we like each other. And we're just friends.
We think of you as family.
They are. It's family. And what you guys did was you modeled the lifestyle and the business that I wanted. Whenever I was in your home, you modeled, okay, this is how you can run a large organization, but also have an amazing spirit in your home and have kids functioning really well. And so I thought of the times and the hours that we spent collaborating and just observing how you're running things in your home. And I felt like sometimes people just need to see that model. And so through doing some of these videos, they saw the model, right? And so I really just thank you guys for being so real and humble and modeling it in such an amazing way where you're not compromising your soul or destroying relationships like a lot of models out there in MLM, but you're actually creating amazing abundance in your lives, but also for everybody on all levels, not just financial, but all levels. And that's really what my heart's desire is with my team too. It's helping to create abundance on all levels all the time.
Wow.
Okay.
That's such a kind thing to say. Thank you, Callie.
Thank you.
Well, why don't we open it up for questions? I don't know about you, but I'm totally inspired, ready to go back to my vision board and my declaration statements and up my game. But let's open it up if you're game, Callie. Who wants to ask Callie any questions, or just let's open it up. Well, I think you've left us speechless. You've done a great job, Callie.
Someone's sleeping.
No. Nope, I can see their faces. They're here, and I just love everything you've said, and we're so grateful for you and John and the way that you show up for others. You guys just demonstrate such a huge level of commitment to your team, to your family, and to people outside your team. I've seen you serve regardless of where people fall in the tree. So thank you so much for who you are and for inspiring us all today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Everybody's nodding their heads and giving warm, grateful smiles. So we love you guys and look forward to connecting and doing more great things together.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Take care, Callie.
Bye.
We'll see ya. Well, there you go. A couple of awesome people. You can tell the quality of people that they are and just the huge giving hearts that they have. Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. And I've got this recorded if you want to share it with anybody. So I'll post that on the Facebook page. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.